What is an opera? Well, in its simplest form, it's a play set to music. I'm sure you've all been to a play at some point, and you know they can be either very long or very short. Operas, too, have different variances on the length, but most operas are a large work, and they're usually 2 hours or more. The other thing that's different about a play and an opera is that the opera is all music. Traditional opera has no speaking. Everything is sung. So how do we start? Well, we need a story, just like in a play. And the story in an opera is called a libretto. In Italian, libretto means little book. Because it's a big work, the book isn't quite so little. We need someone to write that, and he's called the librettist. The composer's not always the librettist for an opera. Sometimes they have a playwright write the story, and then the composer will take that libretto and change it into music. We have two kinds of singers. We have soloists, and we have a chorus. The soloists are the ones who people come to hear. They have studied all their life how to get in, do all of those tricks with their voice, with all those changing sounds and high notes and low notes, and the audience loves them. That's why they go. The soloists play the part of the major characters. Just like in a play, when the character is chosen for a certain type of person, the soloists in music operas are also chosen to play the part of a specific character, but they also have to have a voice that matches that character. So, for example, if we have a play that has maybe a young girl as a character, we'd be looking for a soloist who has maybe a light, very high soprano voice. And suppose we want some scary villain. We'd probably be looking for a low bass singer. Soloists sing arias, and arias are these big solos. They're very repetitive, but they're the ones that the audience come to hear. Sometimes they're quite long too, but you know, it's not uncommon for after an aria is sung by one of these soloists that the whole audience will stand up and shout bravo or brava if it's a woman. The other type of music that we have for these singers is recitatives, and it's what the word sounds like. It's a recite, and it reminds me a lot of some rap where the singer takes a whole lot of notes and sings them really, really fast. If we didn't have recitatives, our operas would be very long. The recitatives sort of help the storyline move along and then leaves all of the big fancy stuff to the arias. We also have a chorus, and like any other play, you're going to have people in the background who are singing maybe the parts of the town members, or a certain type of group will sing that. And they're usually chosen for their voice type, just in the soprano, alto, tenor, bass categories. The composer really has a big job. Not only does he have to write all the music for the singers, he has to write all of the music for the orchestra, and that's huge. The job of the orchestra is to accompany the singers. That's their main job. So just doing that, the composer must look at the orchestra and see what kind of instruments he has. Often, he would use the traditional things in most operas, you know, the strings, woodwinds, and so on. And he's going to write these specifically for those parts. So he's going to, for example, if he's going to write for an orchestra that has strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion, but with the strings alone, he's going to have to write for strings 1, violin 2, cello, bass. He might even write for a ukulele or a guitar, whatever it takes to tell that story. And he will go through all these parts of that we know for the symphony, and he's going to have to write all those parts so that it's polyphonic and good music. He also has to write an overture. Now, an overture is the first thing you hear in an opera. It's an instrumental piece that sets the mood. Again, the composer is going to go back and look at what he has and what he's going to use, what parts of the orchestra, if not every part, to set the mood for the play. Overtures can be quite long, but they can also be short. If you go to a play, an opera, you will not be seated if you come in when the overture is playing. You will have to wait because the overture is part of the opera. Did I tell you that Italian opera means work? This is a huge work, and a lot of people go into making the opera in the great works that they are.